Scottish National Heritage is Scotland's nature and landscape conservation body. Scottish Environment Protection Agency is the environmental regulator. These were organisations which were facing major challenges but wanted an opportunity to think differently, and that's where we came in. The report essentially sets out a number of ways in which SEPA and SNH might want to form different types of relationships with the three constituency bodies which actually enable them to achieve their objectives, and that objective being a more valued and sustainably managed natural environment, which we characterise in terms of a more resilient economy, preventative public services and citizens as stewards, working incredibly creatively with their communities to train members of those communities to understand their own needs and assets. The second step we suggest is what we call here change makers. It's a way of using network knowledge to identify people in communities who are respected and trusted. And then we move to participatory budgeting. What's more important than the money that's being handed over is the trust that's being shared and the confidence that's being built with communities.
The demand for our services is increasing. Nature and landscapes are vital assets for wealth creation and well-being of Scotland's people, and they play a central role in ministers' ambitions for Scotland. We need to maintain or increase and better demonstrate the contribution that we make to public value and public well-being. And we need to look at some new thinking, and we need to be prepared to change some of our long-standing approaches. Many we could not undertake unilaterally or even between us. We're going to have to convince wider groups of people to travel with us.
This report from the RSA, or the social productivity model, I agree with Ian, it's challenging and stretching to us as a concept, but I think it's vital for the future. I would hope eventually thousands, tens of thousands of volunteer observers right across the country actually measuring and observing their local environments, working alongside businesses in order to help and advise them to move certainly into compliance with environmental regulation, but to move beyond compliance and actually become environmental champions. We intend to bring together all the information that is required in Scotland to give people the knowledge and the awareness of how they can get involved in protecting their environment, and therefore a better tool for providing citizens with the information about how they should value them and protect those services that we all rely on. All of that may seem quite different, quite radically different for a regulator. I think it is quite an innovative way of thinking. And indeed, getting that kind of engagement with citizens and the public, I think, involves being quite open and transparent about ethics and values that we've already heard about, indeed about emotions. And for an evidence-based, technocratic, scientific body like ourselves, that in itself is quite a challenge.
How do you have a level playing field? How do you avoid just the most organised and the loudest shouting people getting most of the resources and most of the attention?
Some of the most interesting examples of housing estates that have been turned around when you work with people and identify those people who are often women in those communities who are prepared to work together to make a real difference to their place.
Don't forget that on the ground we've had biodiversity officers working hard for more than a decade doing exactly this.
Yeah, there's been hugely good work done by biodiversity observers and so on. I think the difference here in the model that we're interested in, particularly in SEPA, is actually linking that observation real-time, big scale, hopefully, live into support policy and regulation. So that if people actually submit their data and information, they know that somebody probably is going to do something about it. And we've got very active participation with anglers observing the quality of their rivers, and we've trained them in how to do that. And it's very high quality data. I'd love to see citizen observation on invasive species, which need to be controlled and eradicated, and perhaps on air quality, which is the pollution that still is killing people.
How does your report address engaging citizens who are young people and hires, etc., so that they're learning about sustaining our natural world?
I think that's one of the great pleasures of the Year of Natural Scotland is to see the number of people who have taken an interest in and become engaged. We know from previous surveys that the most difficult group to engage with environmental issues is somewhere around the 15 to 20-year-olds. And you know, we've had a few projects this year that we can build on. And again, the lesson that comes out of all of that is don't tell them what the rules are. If they believe you are being permissive and allowing them to do things in their way, then you get enormous enthusiasm.
It's been a magnificent report. I look forward to it. Yeah.